Hey there. Thanks for checking out this album review. Today we're talking about From Genesis to Revelation. Where's my copy of it? From Genesis to Revelation. Uh, yep, we're starting with the Genesis discography. Still haven't decided if I'm going to alternate between Genesis and a couple other bands or just do Genesis then do the other bands. I'm not too sure yet. But for now, I'm going to start out with Genesis here. This is my promo copy. London Records. Oh, so this album, you know, gets a lot of bad ratings. I don't really mind it. I think it's a well put together album, and it's one of the. I think it's one of the. Even though this term annoys me a little bit, but I'll use it here. It's one of the hidden gems of the '60s. I mean, it's not the Genesis we know and love. Well, the Genesis I know and love is the Gabriel, Collins, Hackett, Rutherford, and Banks lineup. What the Genesis that stupid people know and love is Collins, Banks, and Rutherford. I mean, I love that. I love all Genesis albums really, except the last one with what's his name, Ray Wilson as the lead vocalist. The album's terrible, but every other album besides that, I mean, I'm not a huge And Then There Were Three fan, and the self-titled 1983 album is not the biggest fan of that either, but besides Pink Floyd, I think they had the most consistent discography. I mean, yes, might have had better musicianship, but they sure did jump around a lot. Like every album sounded like a different band. Every album after the '70s sounded like a different band, or maybe even after Relay, they started sounding like a different band. I won't get into Yes that much right now. I'll save that till I do a Yes review. But yeah, From Genesis to Revelation, I mean, Peter Gabriel, Anthony Phillips, Tony Banks, Mike Rutherford, John Silver. Not the classic line. Even though I do love Anthony Phillips' guitar playing with Genesis, I think he was a talented guitarist, and he wrote some good music for Genesis. Yeah, this album was produced by Jonathan King, which we won't talk about. If you want to know why, just Google him. You'll see why we don't talk about him. But that might ruin it for some people, knowing that a guy like Jonathan King produced this album. But I mean, while it is kind of disturbing, I already loved this album before I even knew about that. So, I mean, it's kind of too late for me to change my mind. But, I mean, yeah, it's mainly a pop album. Not very Genesis-like. So it starts out with where the sour turns to sweet. I love that song. The snapping fingers. And I'm like the only person that actually likes the strings and the horns mixed in the songs. I think it adds more dimension and flavor, and without it, it's like a steak with a lot of pink in it. But with the added instrumentation on the whatever channel it was, it's like a steak with very little pink in it. That's how I like my steak, but you get the picture. I think it adds another dimension, just like when Rush started using synthesizers. I think they sounded better with the synthesizers. But so yeah, I love where the sour turns to sweet. And there's In the Beginning. I like it. Little psychedelic sort of song with a weird intro. I love Fireside Song with the piano intro and the violin thing mixed with the acoustic guitar. And the catchy chorus, the "Once upon a time there was confusion." And then The Serpent, another cool psychedelic song with the cool riff in it. Am I Very Wrong? I like, but the big reason why I like it is the chorus part where the other members sing the "Today is your birthday, friend. Everything all right. We hope your life will never end." I like that. I like that part of it. In the Wilderness is a nice song. Not really one of my favorites, but it's alright. I like it. The Conqueror is a nice little song. What's after that? Oh, In Hiding. I love the little pick me up, put me down. I love that part. One Day. Yeah, that's the next song. Yeah, One Day. I like One Day. The da da na 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 na. Oh yeah, Window. I love Window. That's one of my favorite songs on it. I love that piano intro. The dun 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 dun. Just I could play that on repeat. That's how much I love that intro. And the Come See Me, Take My Hand. I love that part too. And Limbo. Love that song. It sounds like your typical up tempo pop song with horns. The with the horns in it. The Take Me Away. Silent Sun, their first single. I love this song. And it ends with A Place to Call My Own. Love that too. Nice little ending there. So yeah, I do really love this album. I mean, it's obviously not as good as the albums that come afterwards. Or I'd probably put this one above the 80s pop stuff. I mean, most people would put it towards the bottom. But according to my taste, I'd put it right over the Abacab, Invisible Touch, We Can't Dance, Duke, the self-titled one, and then there were 3 in Calling All Stations. I do love the 80s. Well, I do love Abacab, or shall I say Duke to We Can't Dance. But I'd probably put this a little above those. But I'm not 100% sure on that. But you know, I do love the album. So the ratings, my new rating system. This is my first review using the new rating system. So songs got a 9. Yeah, that's pretty good. You know, I enjoy the album. And the continuity's a 9. Pretty steady album all the way through. I don't hate any of the songs. Or I don't even dislike any of them. Talent level an 8. They did a lot of better stuff music-wise after this. I mean, you can tell. This is mainly Jonathan King's thing as far as production and how he wanted them to sound, like a Bee Gees sort of band. But yeah, they definitely improved. Even with their second album, Foxtrot, Trespass. I don't know why I said Foxtrot. Yeah, Trespass. Big change. Way more musical talent. And band lineup got a 7. It's not the classic lineup. You know, I mean, really their drummer was a session drummer. I mean, Chris Stewart played on their first singles, I think, and then they got John Silver to do the rest of the album. They just really got session drummers, and I love Anthony Phillips, but I think Steve Hackett was slightly better for Genesis, even though I do love Phillips' work on Trespass, and even some of his work on here. But the overall rating of this album is 8.3, which is good. Good. That's a good rating. It would. I think it would go in my tier 3 maybe. There's 5. There's 5 tiers for every band, and this album would. It's on the verge of being in 2 or 3. I mean, it's not as good as Trespass, Nursery Crime, Foxtrot, Selling England by the Pound, The Lamb, Trick of the Tail, or Wind and Wuthering. I mean, maybe some of their later albums are better, but it most likely is tier 3, I would say, to be honest with you. But it would be near the top of tier 3. But yeah, 8.3. This album gets an 8.3. That's really all I have to say. I mean, if you don't like it, try to give it another listen, maybe. I mean, I personally like it. I like 60s music, or late 60s music. late 60s music in particular. But I think it's sort of underrated. I mean, this sort of, in a way, is ahead of its time. This is a concept album. Not much concept albums were made in the '60s. This was recorded '68, released '69. They were already writing Trespass, and Jonathan King weren't interested in their long progressive stuff they were writing, so where'd they go? Atlantic, the famous Charisma label. But yeah, then they started doing bigger and better things. But yeah, 8.3 this album gets, or 83 out of 100. B. Is that a B minus? I'm not sure. Anyway, I'll see you on the next review. And if you haven't, I uploaded those last Pink Floyd reviews in one day. If you haven't seen them, go and watch them. They're on my archive, so check them out. So that's it for this review. See you on the next one. Goodbye.